Hi, everybody. Day 2 of the Panagora Pharma 8th Annual Customer Experience Summit, and we are getting started today with a panel of HCP experience experts. So let's invite to the stage Charlie Flax from Propeller, as well as Kathy Schwartz from Sanofi Pasteur, and Stephanie Garrison from Idorsia. Still waiting for Kathy. I hope we didn't have any issues with her firewall. Okay, she is back. And Kathy, just turn on your camera and mic, and you should be able to join us. There we go. And your microphone is on. And so, wait, are we still, Kathy, are we still Sanofi Pasteur? Do we still, or is it all just Sanofi now? Turn on your mic. Okay.
Sanofi Pasteur. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool. Yes, we can.
Yep.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do, and if you have a disclaimer, go ahead and disclaim that now.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kathy Schwartz, and I am the head of customer experience at Sanofi Pasteur, which is the vaccines division of Sanofi. And so I guess my disclaimer is the typical, what I'm about to say and everything that I share are my opinions only and are not the opinions of Sanofi or Sanofi Pasteur.
Awesome. Stephanie, who are you and what the heck is Idorsia?
Hi, everybody. Steph Garrison. I am the head of digital marketing for Idorsia US. And if you don't know Idorsia, we just earlier this month got approved or accepted from the FDA for our NDA for daridorexant, which is an insomnia product for adult patients.
Congratulations on that. And Charlie. Oh, wait, Steph.
Yes. Oh, right. Oh, my goodness. My disclaimer. My views and opinions that I will express today are my own and not of my employer, Idorsia Pharmaceuticals.
And Charlie, who the heck are you?
Who am I? Charlie Flax, founder, president of Propeller. We are a digitally forward healthcare marketing and advertising agency with our main headquarters in Summit, New Jersey. And we serve all healthcare, 50% medical device and 50% pharmaceutical. Awesome.
So we have a couple of different situations here. We have Kathy, who's involved with vaccines, and Stephanie's got a launch project. Charlie, why don't you start off? Tell me about the importance of HCP experience in 2021, and obviously there have been some changes. If we had this conversation 18 months ago, but you probably see a lot of different situations with your portfolio of clients.
Yeah, that's a great question. I see so many different changes. And obviously it's easy to just point to the pandemic and go and say it's all there. I just think that was more of a fast forward situation. I think really where we're at, and it's really, really exciting for 2021, is we're at a great point to reset. We're at a great point to set a new standard. So if you're a brand or if you're a manufacturer and organization, it's not really about worrying, okay, what happened over the last 18 months, 12 months, whatever it is, but where can we go moving forward? Because you have customers, especially on the HCP side, with a new appetite to embrace new things. And recognizing, and I think a lot of them recognize that the HCP customer recognizes that these are self-serving things, good things, because they're used to communication with industry potentially feeling one way. And with all these changes, they have more of a voice and they can start to participate and communicate in more of a two-way manner. And I think it's an exciting time.
So I'm hearing a couple things here. They're going to be able to get things their way more so than they have in the past, and also reset. So Kathy, how does that layer on to your perception of the importance of HCP experience in 2021? Or do you see it a little bit differently?
No, totally agree. I like to use the word accelerate. I think COVID's accelerated a lot of trends that we've been seeing in at least in our marketing organization, where now it's really about putting the customer at the center of everything that we do, and not explicitly starting with the brand. It's about understanding from their perspective, because frankly, for a good 14 months or so, we had very little face-to-face interaction with customers, and that typical influence and sitting in the office and being able to catch people and just have that relationship building, it stopped, right, like dead in the tracks. So we had to really think about what is it that customers are looking for from us, and how can we help serve those needs and serve those customers, because it's super easy for them to just ignore an email or decline a Zoom invite.
Gotcha. Stephanie?
So I would say for me, in my particular situation, very selfishly, that for me, 2021 and 2022, the HCP experience is about, our launch for 2022. And, I would agree with both Kathy and Charles that in the last, year-ish, I've been super pleased that digital has frog jumped to the top of the pile. Because it's always, I've always been multi-channel, but within that digital, what I really look for and what I talk to my agency partners about and with third-party suppliers around HCP is I don't want to have just, cost of entry. I want the best in class of cost of entry for the experience. So, show me your channels. What can we do? How can we engage HCPs? But I want it to be best in class. And one of the things that I'm particularly thinking about for us for the next year and a half is texting, for example, and what we can do with that to meet our HCPs. You'll hear it all the time. Meet our HCPs where they are.
Personally, I wouldn't do a damn thing with text, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I'm going to investigate it and I'll let you know, Seth.
Thank you. I just think that there might be like one final, barrier that you don't cross. So, Charlie, how does the HCP experience relate to what you're doing? You have some different techniques, programs, etc. I hope the hell you don't do text, but or I just send myself out there. But I'm going to ask Kathy about that and Stephanie, because they're both in very unique situations, both in their product pipeline and the way that it's distributed. And again, you see a lot of it from your perspective. So, how does it relate to what you guys are doing? Maybe a little bit more about that push-pull that we talk about.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to start by saying I am very interested in text, 100%. We've explored a bunch of different avenues. Maybe, Seth, you bring up a great point, though. I want to go back to the text thing in the sense that, like, is there this spot you don't cross? Is there something that is sacred, right? Like something that is private? I think if we start engaging it as a primary channel, that could be dangerous, right? And all the communications. But, there are things that I get texted to me 7:30 every morning recurring that I rely on. Like, that I'm just like, oh yeah, okay. And if we can occupy a place in the HCP minds, right, where it's actually of value and it's something that they're glad to get, that's a great use. I think if we take that step further, and I do like that line that you drew, then I think that's where we start to over inundate and things like that. Given that we are in multiple markets, wherever our clients are, multiple disease states, I would say the idea of keeping the customer center, and Kathy said that, and I completely agree, and having a really strong customer experience, HCP experience specifically, right? That is specialty or disease state agnostic. That has to happen. The key for us adapting it to the different specialties, the different brands, the different disease states, is making sure you're listening, because just delivering a message that's fully focused on clinical data is going to work in one specialty and might not be of interest in another. And I think that's really important. Is the first step to making sure we can deliver is to make sure we're listening. And that listening can be quantitative and that can be qualitative. But it's listening. If you're just going off and building a plan and not paying attention to what you're hearing in the atmosphere, in your specialty's universe, then you're first of all not being customer centric. And then you're definitely not embracing their experience. You're trying to, and Kathy mentioned this, you're trying to lead brand first. And the beauty of this technology, the beauty of the world we're in, and the openness, as Stephanie said, the openness right now to this technology is that we have the ability to listen and we have the ability to adapt to what our customer actually wants, as opposed to guessing and just throwing it out there.
Gotcha. And I will invite everyone to use the Q&A function in the chat icon that you have to ask any questions of the panel. We will go ahead and sort through those and ask them as we were. Kathy, I wanted to ask you something specifically about the market that you work in, which is vaccines. And there is a little bit of a different sort of format with regards to how the HCP interacts with the company and brand, how they pay for it, because it's usually a direct purchase and things of that nature, and then also sort of a seasonal situation with vaccines. So how does your particular world map onto customer experience as it concerns the doctor?
So it's very much what Charlie said about listening. And then the other key component for us is acting on what we're hearing, because we can listen a lot and the action can lag a bit. So in my company and when we think about customer experience, during all of the touch points with which we interact with our customers, and the brand is sort of the tip, and then there's a whole, the iceberg. There's the whole underlying current that works to simplify and help the HCP really get the job that they're set out to achieve. And that experience, runs all the way from the point of purchase to the reimbursement to the inventory management. It just sort of runs the whole gamut there. But we've gotten a lot more. We've gotten better at listening and acting. And I have a really good example. If you'd let me just share for one more minute, Seth, and that is during the height of the pandemic. I think a lot of people saw the headlines. There was a lot of devastation for COVID, but immunization rates for preventable diseases, for vaccines for which we already have, plummeted, double digits. In the babies, it maintained. The CDC put a focus on that, but in all the other age groups, it really plummeted. And they've come back some, but not to pre-pandemic levels. And so we're really facing, what could be outbreaks of diseases that we haven't seen in a long time in the US. And so what we did as an organization, and a lot of other partners were doing similar things, but we built a toolkit and a strategy for our customers to help them during the pandemic and post-pandemic, patients back in the offices, communicate the safety measures, communicate everything that they're doing in order to make sure that the kids are up to date on their schedules. And that, it was called the Adaptive Vaccination Solutions. And that it's a perfect example of what you can do as an organization if you really listen to what the needs are and understand, what the job to be done is, and then design something within. I mean, we did this in the space of like 4 months. So it was in at pharma, right? That's like light years all of a sudden.
No, and that is a great
So-
example too of something that may or may not be tied to revenue with regards to your actions.
Right.
You know, obviously, if immunizations are down and you work in vaccines, then vaccine sales may be down. But we're looking at preventing outbreaks from things that we haven't seen in decades as a result of folks reluctant to go to the doctor. That is fantastic. Stephanie, you're launching a product. So
Yes. Go ahead.
in insomnia, that sounds to me like a fairly crowded market as an insomniac myself. But HCP Experience, how the heck do you know what you need to do? I mean, you're flying blind or what?
Yeah, we're flying blind. So the last couple of weeks, we've been having massive amounts of market research and listening into both patient and HCP side for our specialties with PCP and psych. And so I'll tell you, going through and listening to the market research and hearing literally from the HCP and from the patient what their struggles are, what they believe, what they don't believe, what they're hesitant about, and really hearing what I heard from some of the HCPs in the market research was, you know, treating sleep this is not uncommon kind of catchphrase for HCPs, is not sexy. You know, it's really the only barometer I have. You know, I can't do a lab test for it. I can't do blood work for it. Or not, that's not usually typical. The only confirmation I have if a product is working or not within the sleep space is if the patient comes back and says, yes, I can sleep now, or they never hear from the patient again, which they kind of take as, oh, well, I guess the therapy worked. And to your point, Seth, one of the things that, because I'm new to
it didn't.
Right. Absolutely. And they're just trying to struggle on their own. I'm new to the insomnia space, the sleep space, but I personally have suffered, technically like intermittent insomnia, and almost everybody I know is on melatonin or gummies or something to help them sleep, meditate, that kind of thing. So it's really breaking through that. And with there are, trazodone off label, there's, other sleep products that are RX that are out there. And how do we hear what the HCP is saying and then tell the story to the HCP in a different way that differentiates us by the time we launch?
Gotcha. So you have to rely on doing a lot of homework to be able to create that. And then my assumption would be read and react as soon as you're in market for a while to be able to get where you need to go. So we have a question from the audience from a raconteur named Richard Schwartz. And the question is, and we'll go back to Kathy with this, and then we'll go around the circle. Are you seeing any shift in the role of the representative from selling to servicing over the last 14 months?
So yes, but I don't know if I would call it servicing. It's more about empowering our sales force to uncover those needs of the healthcare provider. So during, we call it strategic dialogue, it's really consultative selling, and knowing enough about the solutions that we can offer, including our brands, which is one of the primary solutions, to help meet those needs. And so we've been focusing a lot on the skill sets around listening, again, and also knowing where to go once you've heard what the customer is saying in order to help meet that need. And so really being an orchestrator of messages rather than repeating just one brand message or several brand messages.
Well, as a former rep, I feel that this is, the stuff we should have been doing all along if you hadn't been doing it. But, it takes something to stimulate that in an organizational capacity. Charlie, selling to services, and have you discovered any new tools or technology that helps doing that?
Oh, we're putting both questions together. No, I'm just.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. So Selling services, yeah, I have definitely. Well, I think initially the thought was, hey, we need to not go out and just sell the brand. That we have there is a ethical and a moral obligation servicing these HCPs to go out and understand what they need to get through the first 3, 4, 5 months. That really, changed it so that it became more about, okay, how do we help facilitate any access issues you might have? How do we start to, facilitate and help you get through this? Which I do think changed a shift. And yes, after that, and even to today, I've seen sales forces completely change their model. And, sales reps some of them are not even called clinical sales reps anymore, or referred to that way. I've seen shifts where their entire organizations have had customer experience reps, which is, perfect for today's conversation, but really focused on making sure, especially with brands that have been in market a long time, right? Because between, if you have great digital, great omni-channel, a lot of that information of a 10, 15-year-old brand, that shouldn't be a shock to any practitioner, right? I mean, that would be a problem probably. But I think what ends up happening is you really want to ensure it's a great and a fluid experience from patient all the way through. And I think you have field forces, starting to go that way. And then with regards to tools, what we've started to see is some really cool omni-channel tools start to get integrated so that based off all this great data you're collecting from how your NPP, your non-personal, might perform, we're able to feed up, a sales rep or a customer experience representative with the topics that they're interested in, really, as opposed to where it used to be that rep data, right, would feed how the NPP is sent out. We're actually saying, hey, they're engaging with this. Here's how you should detail them, either live or virtual. So lots of cool tools like that. I know in the question someone asked about like AR, VR, and things like that. The AR, VR thing, right? It's cool. It's hot. The one thing I'll say is in today's age, some of that requires like in person, hey, here's how you use it. Here's how, put this thing on your face, and we're not supposed to be touching any part, right? So what we found though is we can have similar experiences via the web by building like experience rooms, stuff you can just easily access, demoing products, especially for our medical device clients, leveraging these kind of cool rooms, mock ORs. So yeah, we are seeing things, and even virtually, the sales rep or whoever the field force member is can engage, share screen, and they can do this together via these tools. So there are a bunch of really cool things that have come out of this.
Indeed. Stephanie, so looking at prepping for a launch, and part of that obviously is, the digital assets in which you are, that you have a hand in, selling versus servicing. And then, are you bringing on a sales force? Are you going to put it through a 7-step Sandler sales system to make sure that they can make sure they close the physician on every encounter? Or is it more, again, about being more conscious to what they need in their workflow?
Well, so first we'll be going out with, disease state and building up just the science of sleep story that we'll be working on ahead of launch. I think to me, and I don't run the sales side, but I'm very closely connected with them and with training, is to just help the reps to have everything they need, but also have honest dialogues back and forth about, do they, it's not just like, here's your MVA, it's clickable, go do what you need to do. But really having open and honest conversations back and forth between sales and marketing, what is working and what is not working. And in my last company, we did a really good job of that. And then, so definitely, servicing over sales, but we all are, there has to be a mind of building the relationship with the HCP to the end result. We're all profit companies to get the RX for the appropriate patients. I would say for technology wise, a shout out to all my EHR peeps I know that you guys are having another conversation about EHR. I think it's later today, but I am a huge proponent of EHR. And over the last year, not just because of COVID, but over the last year, I have seen EHR grow and expand and have all kinds of really neat components that we didn't necessarily have, let's say, 3 to 4 years ago in EHR.
And I might draw that line again, because some people think that there is, an area that is somewhat sacred. Stick around for the next panel then, if you want to jump on there and talk about EHR, which is cool. So we're winding down to the last bit of time we have. So I'm just going to ask you a very quick question that you can answer in 40 words or less. Magic bullet, secret sauce. Kathy, what is the key to the HCP's heart?
So starting where walking in their shoes, empathy, understanding everything they've gone through, and don't be tone deaf to what's happening, because it's not over and people are still really struggling, and now's the time to join hands and really be a partner.
Stephanie, the key to an HCP's heart. I'm assuming you're going to say EHR. No? Surefire way to get results, right?
Well, I would, but you drew me a line, Seth.
That's my line, but everybody has their own level of tolerance.
So I would say, to echo Kathy, but I would say it's to build on it slightly differently. The way I think about it is that doctors are human. And I think one of the things that we've learned over the past year is that we are all way more human than we thought we were. So being human and recognizing that in the HCPs, and with my product and what I've heard recently is, and this goes to all HCPs across all specialties, all therapeutic areas, HCPs want to help their patients and they want to be a savior and a hero for their patients. So what can we do as a pharmaceutical industry, for the appropriate patient, the appropriate HCP, help them with that?
Gotcha. And Charlie, so you have the third answer, so maybe some of the good responses have been taken, or this could be an opportunity for you to plug your branded solution that you have at Propeller. But what is the key to the HCP's heart?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pull from a few things that were said, but the HCP is not one person, right? That's the key for me, is that you have to recognize that all HCPs are different. Yes, there might be segments. We love our segments. We love our target lists, but they're different. And technology today, the access to data we have, it's continuing to evolve and improve. We have the opportunity to give each HCP an experience that we know they want, the data shows they want. It might be easier sometimes to genericize it, but don't. Take advantage of what we have. And it's a wonderful time to be able, and it's the beginning of a new era, but it's a wonderful time to be able to customize. And then I also want to echo my favorite thing is HCPs are human. So just like all humans, they evolve and their habits change. And it used to be a rule that you do not, HCPs do not engage in emails on the weekend. That was like a rule everyone had. Well, we're seeing engagement rates on Saturdays and Sundays that are the same or better than weekdays.
So we're moving the line. We're moving the line.
We are moving the line.
No.
But it's because the data is telling us that they want to do it then. They're tired. They got other things. They want to go home and watch The Bachelor. I get it. But the weekends, believe it or not, that is my type of TV too. But but, on the weekends, that might be their catch-up time, and they're willing to engage with us. So,
fair enough. So, any final thoughts from anybody? Because if not, we can adjourn and go back out onto the floor, meet some new people, and head back here in about 5 minutes for our discussion on HCP and the EHR POC experience.